Annie Boone stood trembling on the wooden platform, her wrists bound with coarse rope that cut into her skin. The autumn wind whipped through her tattered dress. But it wasn't the cold that made her shiver. It was the hungry eyes of the men gathered before her. Prospectors, ranch hands, and drifters had formed a semicircle around the auction block, each one assessing her worth with callous disregard for her humanity. "What do I hear for this fine specimen?" The auctioneer bellowed his voice, carrying across the dusty square of Silver Creek, young, strong, and still, with some looks about her suitable for cooking, cleaning, and whatever else a lonely man might desire. Cruel laughter rippled through the crowd. Annie kept her gaze fixed on the distant mountains. She'd once had dreams of becoming a school teacher back east, before her father's gambling debts had crushed those aspirations when he died of consumption 3 months prior. His creditors had seized everything, including her. The law offered no protection for a woman with no family and no means. "Do I hear 5 gold coins?" The auctioneer's voice sliced through her thoughts. Silence fell over the crowd. 3 coins, then a few men shuffled their feet. "For God's sake, men, look at her. 1 coin, surely she's worth that much." A burly miner with tobacco-stained teeth stepped forward. "1 coin," he growled, leering at Annie with undisguised intentions that made her stomach turn. "Going once." The auctioneer called. Annie closed her eyes, willing herself not to cry. This was to be her fate. "Going twice. I'll give you 1 gold coin." A different voice, steady, clear, and strangely dignified, cut through the tension. Annie opened her eyes to see a tall man at the edge of the crowd. Unlike the others, he stood straight back, his expression unreadable beneath the shadow of his wide-brimmed hat. "Sold," the auctioneer declared, seemingly eager to conclude this disappointing auction, to Mr. William Colt for 1 gold coin. Annie felt the rope cut from her wrists as she was roughly shoved toward her new owner. She stumbled, nearly falling face first into the dirt, before strong hands caught her shoulders. "Steady now, William," Colt said quietly, his touch firm but not cruel. Up close, she could see the fine lines around his eyes, weathered by sun and hardship. He wasn't young, perhaps 30, but his eyes held none of the cruelty or lust she'd seen in the others. "Thank you," she whispered, though she wasn't sure what she was thanking him for. Buying her for a single coin was hardly an act of charity. "Can you ride?" he asked, guiding her away from the auction block. "Yes," she answered, her voice barely audible. "Good, it's a long way to the ranch." As they reached his wagon, Annie noticed a small figure seated there, a girl of perhaps 7 years, with wild copper curls and her father's serious eyes. "Papa, is this our new housekeeper?" the child asked. "Yes. Belle, this is Miss Boone. She'll be helping us at the ranch." Belle's scrutiny was intense. "You don't look like much," she declared with childish frankness. "Belle," her father admonished, but Annie surprised herself by laughing, the first genuine sound she'd made in months. "I suppose I don't," she agreed, touching her matted hair self-consciously as William helped her onto the wagon bench. His hand lingered on hers for just a moment longer than necessary. "The Silver Creek trading post is just down the road. We'll stop there before heading home."